Hey guys, I just wanted to focus in on this part of the timeline. I know a lot of other information has come out today as far as the police footage and yesterday with the incident report regarding the domestic violence claim, and I'll focus on that later, but ultimately we're trying to focus on finding Gabby. Like, where is she? So I want to focus in on that section, especially the last couple of days that she was seen, so we can try and narrow down specifically where she is. Um, a lot of this information comes from her uncle's Facebook post with their timeline on where they think she is, along with the information that's been revealed since then. First things first, we know that she spoke to her mom on FaceTime on either August 23rd or 24th or both. And then they left Salt Lake City on the 24th and supposedly were in Grand Teton, Wyoming on the 25th. This is kind of where the story goes in a couple different directions. So supposedly, she sent that Snapchat to a friend that she was going to Yellowstone on the 27th and that there's no service in Yosemite on the 30th. The reason why I highlight those specifically is because now we actually have police confirmation that Brian is back in Northport, Florida with the van on September 1st. I don't know if you've looked at a map because I am really bad with geography. That's actually a 35-hour drive from where they were in Grand Teton, Wyoming, back to Northport, Florida. And as an individual, I don't see him driving straight through. I would estimate at the very minimum, it had to have taken him 2 to 3 days. Realistically, with the pattern of how they were driving, plus his history with stopping and exploring. If he hadn't done something sinister, I can imagine he left a couple days previously to that, which plays a huge role in a little bit. Hey, kitty, move. So in the body cam footage today, Brian says that he doesn't have a phone when the police officer asks him for his phone number, but he does physically pull out a phone during that conversation. My thought, a lot of people are like, oh, is it her phone? Is it like, why would he lie? He obviously has a phone. Well, my thought on it is that maybe he does have a phone, but due to their minimalistic lifestyle and a lot of the implications that the money for this trip is probably partially coming from her family, like the Uber Eats and everything like that, for their emergencies, that he might physically have a phone and is documenting on it and recording with it. But I know there's quite a few inferences on his Instagram where he says they're out of the Wi-Fi. I'm wondering if he just isn't paying for service on his phone, which is why he doesn't provide a phone number to the police officer. Also, according to those posts from her uncle, they say that Brian is in Florida from August 17th to the 23rd. Now, we haven't had a police confirmation on that yet, but at the same time, there's the reports of him moving their stuff out of their apartment and everything of that nature, so it sounds like it does have some credibility to it. I think we're all working under the assumption that he flew and then flew back. The reason why I bring this up is to go back to, it's a 35-hour drive to get from Grand Teton to Northport. So my question is, when did Brian actually leave to get back on September 1st? And did he have a phone, or does she have a phone on her at all? This mostly comes into play because of some of her final posts. His final post is actually on August 13th, and I actually have it right here. Why I bring this up is because August 13th is the day of that police report as far as the incident goes, and he claims that it started because she wanted to stay at the cafe where there was internet, and she was trying to catch up on their social media, and he wanted to be out in the parks and climbing that day. A couple things to note about this. Obviously, so these were posted before that incident occurred. I kind of figured, I know some people have been asking, well, why didn't she like those posts? Why did she like all the other posts and not that? I'm under the assumption that she didn't like it because they had that huge fight that day. And I mean, I don't, after seeing that argument, I don't think I'd be going and liking his social media posts after either. Now, according to the report, Brian's in Florida from the 17th to the 23rd. So people were wondering why on earth was these his last posts in Arches National Park. I think it's just because really that was the end of his trip. Like, after this argument on the 13th, I don't think they really had much van lifing left. He goes back to Florida. He comes back and meets up with her on, I'm assuming, either the 23rd or the 24th. She posts on the 19th while he is actually down in Florida, and she posts, I can actually pull it up. She posts the iconic monarch picture, but she also posts this while he is away in Florida. This is what drew my attention, that if it's true that he was in Florida from the 17th to the 23rd, she's actually tagging him on August 19th, saying that they were together and they saw someone essentially littering at the park. Now, she also doesn't post the location, which she has a habit of doing. It's just a strange post because we know they're not together, although he is physically in the picture right here, the back of his head and his body. So I went digging into the rest of their posts to find out if there were any other consistencies. So I believe it is this one. Oh, no, it's not. Here we go. Yes, so Arches National Park, and I see a lot of people online basing their entire timeline off of this part right here, where they're saying on this date, on August 12th, she was at Arches National Park. There's a really big problem with that, though, because she's saying on a calm Monday morning, they took a hike. Well, August 12th is actually a Thursday. So what I'm assuming is that this picture actually took place on the 9th or the 2nd, and she just was connected to Wi-Fi in a town, had some downtime, whatever, on the 12th. So I wouldn't base everyone's theories and timelines based off of that location, though I still think it is strange that her final two posts don't have a location at all and are posted, well, like that she is still with him when we know that she's not. Now, this final post I'll go into really quick as well. At the Monarch, it's not going to show it here, but I just think it's really strange that this character, if you actually pull it up on your phone, is a fly, not a spider, but a fly for Happy Halloween. And everyone pointed out, well, why is she in heels? Why is she all dolled up? Like, this doesn't match any of the other information that we have or her history for the rest of this trip. And my question is this while Brian's away? Did she either meet up with someone? I mean, someone took the picture, obviously, and not sure if Brian is back yet at this time. I think he is. Seeing he left Florida on the 23rd. This is probably the day after. I don't know who's been in a toxic relationship like this seems to be, but there's always that honeymoon phase, like after you have a fight and you separate for a little while and you come back together, and this appears very much to be he's understanding her, seeing that whole fight was like she needed some downtime, not mountain climbing and doing everything fantastic that their trip's been about, but it sounded like she just needed a break. So that's kind of what I figure this picture is about, is she's happy, she's getting that break before we don't see her anymore. Now, I know on August 27th, 2 days after this post, is the last time I believe anyone sees her like anything. And August 27th is only 3 days before he's back in Northport, Florida. I'm assuming that's also the same exact day that Brian drives back home, leaving her behind. So with this in mind, I want to go into the last point of she Snapchatted that she was going to Yellowstone on August 27th. August 27th would have definitely been when he was either hitting the road, or maybe her and him were together on August 27th, and that's when something happens, when they're on their way to Yellowstone and they get separated, because I have no other explanation of her saying she's going to Yellowstone and then him ending up in Northport, Florida 3 days later. I mean, he would have really been heading that direction, unless right after that Snapchat something happened, or someone, not her, sent that Snapchat. And then on the 30th, she texts, "There's no service in Yosemite." Yosemite and Yellowstone are 837 miles apart. Which leads us to the big issue of, where is she? Where do we look for her? I mean, they're looking in Wyoming, which is Yellowstone, which is where they planned on being. But why did someone text from her phone, "There's no service in Yosemite," which is in California? I don't have a good answer. It's definitely something we need to look into further, especially since the next day after she sends that text, Brian is back in Northport, Florida with her van. The only way I could possibly see that she sent these messages is if she met up with someone else traveling. But she's in such good communication with her family the rest of the time. I don't understand why she would be like, "Yeah, I'm going to Yellowstone. Oh wait, I ended up going to Yosemite," and then no one ever hears from her again, if she's been in such good contact with her family the rest of the time. The only theory I've seen a lot of is people saying, well, maybe she told him to leave because she didn't know how to drive the van home, and like she was going to hop on a plane and fly home herself, or she was going to continue on her trip. I know I've seen a lot of that, but then she wouldn't have just fallen off the face of the earth. Either someone has her phone or someone is in possession of her. I really hope we get some more answers or Brian starts talking soon, because this one really has, I mean, the entire country stumped. I just wish we even knew we were searching in the right place, because all these searches are starting and they're all based in Wyoming. And that's assuming she even arrived in Wyoming. I mean, to specifically Yellowstone in particular. Yeah, I wish I had more answers. I'll keep you updated if I come to any other points. I do want to discuss what happened in that police recording and how it varies, I guess I would say, from the police report, as far as using words such as manic, when that is definitely not what we were presented with in that video. But I guess I feel for her as another Gabby out there, just as a girl in this situation. I can't imagine the fear she had to have gone through as far as that video and him locking her out of the van and the pure terror that must be. I just can't imagine seeing that and seeing her reaction to being that fear of being left, and then just being like, okay, take the van back to Florida. I'm going to continue on my own, without my vehicle, without my home, without any of my belongings or my food. It doesn't make sense. Thanks again. Include your feedback. Let me know if there's anything we could add on to this, and I'll let you know when we have the next video.